Radio is a very vast area. Normally, everybody believes that it's part of mass communication. It is definitely part of mass communication, and whichever tools are available in mass communication that we know that we talk about, right from print media to radio to television. One important aspect about radio is its accessibility, its affordability. These aspects are again very important in radio, and why radio is considered the most effective till date. Any kind of communication, any platform that I have been talking to as yet is this accessibility concept. If you want to watch television even till date, so you have to wait till the evening when you will go to your home and you switch on your television set. If you want to read a newspaper, obviously you have to have either the physical copy or the digital copy. But with the arrival of smartphones, with these mobile phones, radio was the first thing which was introduced in most of the mobile phones. So if you have radio in your mobile phone, anytime you can listen. While commuting, you can listen. And that is in fact, in all metropolitan cities and urban areas, radio became so popular so early for the reason because everybody has a radio in the cars. So that is also this accessibility is very important, and that the instrument is not costly. Even if if it is in your mobile, obviously it's not costing anything. Terrestrial broadcasting, normally we call it, which is transmitter based. There also further divisions are there. The medium wave communication is there, the short wave communication is there, and then FM is the latest thing, which is a frequency modulation. Mostly in our country, it has been the terrestrial broadcasting. Ham radio is it a pretty niche thing, is completely an exclusive thing. But then when we look at the overall radio communication, then it's basically transmission-based radio in India. Like if some of you are in the habit of listening to radio and you listen to the programs which are broadcast by Kolkata radio station, AIR Kolkata radio station, you will find that that's a form of terrestrial broadcasting which is transmitter based. There is another form of radio communication which was there in India for a few years but it could not sustain, which is satellite communication. Many of you, I believe almost everybody knows that what is a satellite, and satellite is used in communication in a big way. And the television programs that you watch, all are through the satellites, all news channels, all entertainment channels, they are satellite based. But then in radio, there is no radio which is satellite based. There are companies in the world which provide satellite radio services also. In India, it was there about 20-25 years. The satellite radio came, it emerged on the scene. There was one company, World Space, which which set up its operation in India and it started its services, but that could not sustain because of the commercial model. Now here you should understand the commercial aspect of radio communication or the radio stations as well. Commerce is very important and nobody can deny this. Whenever any company or is setting up a radio station, they have to look into from where the money will be flowing in and how the communication is to be done and whether that some returns are possible or not, because no private company will run the business into losses. Obviously, for this reason, the radio communication in India was always in the hands of the government. It started in 1920s in the private hands. That's a very interesting parts of in the history, in the evolution of radio. The radio communication in India started in the commercial space by the private hands, and then the British government took it over in 1930. So since 1930, it was there always in the government hands. In 1947, when Britishers left India, obviously it came in the hands of government of India. But then in the later part of the 20th century, we discovered that the government came out with a policy of privatization of FM radio broadcasting, and that is how the FM radio stations in India. When we talk about commerce, the public broadcasting is there, that is normally the broadcasting which is done by the government. All these all India radios, they are run by the government. Then the commercial broadcasting, which is by the private FM radio stations. But then there is some such broadcasting also which is non-commercial in India. Like community radio is one example, which are not for profit radio stations. Again, if we talk about ham radio station, it's not a commercial activity. These radio do not exist for making some money. And if I tell you something more, because there are experts of ham radio stations in ham radio communication, I am not an expert on ham radio, but certainly since I have worked a lot in radio communication as a broadcaster, as a researcher. My research is also on the policy paradigm shifts in radio communication. So that is how I know the complete spectrum of radio stations and radio communication and radio broadcasting. So, so in ham radio stations, obviously that commerce aspect is not there. It all started in the US, as we all know, for group recreation services and all. And but the greatest advantage, if we look at the ham radio station, is that it can prove a boon during disasters. And time and again, it has been proved that it has become most effective for the people during natural disasters. Now, if we look this aspect, whether such kind of element is there in private FM radio stations or the AIR radio stations, to some extent we find that the AIR broadcasting started with the concept of public service broadcasting. That element is exactly not there in private FM radio stations, because private FM radio stations are for commerce. But lately, anyone who listens to private FM radio stations can find this, that some element of public service broadcasting has been introduced in private FM also, because if any broadcasting which is not connecting to the people, any broadcasting which is not taking care of the people will be aloof from that kind of broadcasting. So in ham radio, that element is very much there. It is for the people, it is by the people. So that connectivity problem is not there in ham radio, which we find otherwise. Another element which is in the ham radio, and if I can relate it to satellite radio, which was there for some time, if I can tell you in 2-3 lines, what exactly was a satellite radio? Satellite radio, for whatever time it was there in India, it was known for its niche broadcasting. In the sense that if you are interested in Indian classical music, if you are interested only in listening to ghazals, if you are interested, has to be there, it's a frequency-based communication as compared to podcasting. Well, podcasting is again another new area in radio, because podcasting is again a radio communication which is based on internet. Whether we talk about the private FM radio stations or even the community radio or even the ham radio. And what is important here in all such communication, we must understand the importance of technology. Media is all about technology. As the technology has grown, if you look at the evolution of media, the growth of media for the last 200 years to 300 years, like the modern history, the present day history is traced from 1780 when the first newspaper came out. That too in Kolkata only, the hippies. Since again IT sector is evolving, and it also has its international connotations, and that is how we understand that in IT sector there are a lot of things which are not that way regulated. So that has good parts. There are channels which are doing all kinds of broadcasting. Private FM stations, if you take the example, or all India radio stations, you take the example, sometimes the news is coming, sometimes some drama is coming, sometimes some music. So it's all inclusive. Now, The world is moving, like you people can understand, the people of the younger generation, the world is moving from generalization towards exclusivity as far as the content generation and content receiving is concerned. You are not interested in everything. You want a certain thing and you want that kind of content only. But then it is not possible in today's time, whether you are listening to radio or watching television, every now and then something or the other is coming in which you are not interested. Even in private FM radio, you would have seen, you are interested in music. But then instead of music, you are listening, you are not interested what RJ is saying. But then you have to listen to RJ is speaking for 4-5 minutes and then the song is coming. And that is how what the private FM radio stations have started doing. They are playing 4 songs back to back, so that people who are not interested in listening to RJ, they can be relieved from that. So satellite radio was a niche broadcasting. If you are interested in others, there is a channel for that. If you are interested in Indian, listening to radio on your mobile and listening to it from a handset, so it's very much affordable. It is very much accessible. So these are the important points which I would talk about. So I will not talk in further details because I believe again, since I am talking about everything about mass communication and the trades of all kinds of communication, so it's also important not to bombard the audience with a lot of information. If there will be some questions, I will be happy to address those questions. But otherwise, I stop here. Thank you.